Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. So, it's your favorite sorcerer here, practicing necromancer, dark sorcerer. And today I'd like to kind of just talk a little bit about the stature of being a clergyman or woman. Okay. In the old days, witches and warlocks were the keepers of the secret. They were basically the ministers of their time. Anybody who's ever done research into folklore, mythology, history, archaeology, you know, you'd see this. Okay. A lot, and this is something that a lot of folks really don't pay much attention to these days. So, I'm going to give you my story and the reason why I've done what I've done this last, this- let's just call it the way it is, the last decade. All right. So, about 2013 area, I was reaching out to different groups because I wanted to form an order that was based off education, but I didn't really know how about to go about it. And so I ended up, getting in touch with an organization out of New York. It was the Brotherhood of Satan, and they ended up, being the only group to hit me back and say, "Hey, you know, we recommend that whatever you preach, always back it up with sources, and always make yourself available to the public because you answer to the public, okay? Not to yourself or to the religion itself." So I thanked them and I reached out to an organization, the American Fellowship, okay? Um, didn't really get a reply from them, but I did find a group called the Universal Life Monastery. Okay. And I ended up becoming an ordained minister through them. And I was actually trained by an apostolic minister. So that kind of was pretty cool for me because I got to learn the about psychology. I started learning about the duties and the responsibilities of being a clergyman and what it means to be a clergyman. And even though I did not belong to that faith, that religion, personally, I find the JCI to be revolting. It is full of dogma and duality, but every so often you find someone that teaches you something. So he told me that there are two ways to become a minister. You either go to school, basically Bible college, where you're going to be spending a boatload of fucking money that most people don't even have, or you'll spend the rest of your days in debt to pay them back. So, and if it's not that, then he said most people come from other ministers. So he and I came up with an arrangement, and I ended up serving him for roughly about 3 years, about 3.5 years as an apprentice. Okay. And I learned from him on how to become a minister. So when I finally became a clergyman, and I got my title through the Universal Life Monastery, and so I went to all the locations. I did my dues as an ordained minister, and in this area, let's face it, I mean, you really don't have to, you don't have to apply to, with the city clerk's office because you're already, ordained. Now, if you weren't ordained, guess what? You're going to have to fight like crazy. You're going to have to fill out paperwork. You're going to have to go through the legal system to even begin to perform ministry. And you have to get a seal of an approval from an ordained clergyman just in that factor alone. And that's just to do things like street ministry, going to prisons or hospitals, and being a minister for multi faith, religions. So after a few years of doing this yearly, basically I came through every year, I reapplied to become a minister. I wanted it to be, you know, one of those things where you want to stay humble when it comes to ministry, but also to remember that you are an elder and it is a privilege to become and be seen as an elder. So, doing this once a year was a great way for me to keep myself humbled. Okay, that means I didn't become one of these tyrants that you see today. These entitled. Okay, and I'm going to say this again: entitled clergymen. Okay, these people who think that they are entitled because they have the name reverend or pastor. Okay, these people who say, "Oh, we're satanic ministers. We're of the black." Order, whatever, from like say the Satanic Temple or the Church of Satan or wherever. Okay, you don't even hear a fucking thing from these people. Okay, so I didn't want to be like them. So I did this once a year. I'd go in and I go, okay, I'm reapplying for my minister's license. This is what I want to do. Okay. My coworkers already saw me, my pagan coworkers, they already saw me as an elder. Okay. I'm well known throughout the communities in the world, and as time went on, I was introduced to the American Fellowship once again. And this was viewed as the only recognized government ministry. Okay. And I'm going to say this again: the only government recognized ministry, the American Fellowship. Okay. So I applied and I ended up getting ordained through them. And I did the same thing once a year. All you had to do was once a year, hit them up and say, hey, this is what I've been up to. This is what I've been doing. Um, this is what I do. Okay. And I apologize. My goatee needs to be trimmed. It's rubbing up against my nose and making it itch. Um, but anyways, it was interesting because of the fact that everything was going great with it. And then roughly about 2018, things started changing. They no longer accepted the title that social media gave me. Okay. When I started the Order of the Black Thorn back in 2013, I put it as being Magus of the Order of the Black Thorn. A Magus is a high priest. Okay. But somewhere along the lines, Facebook ended up changing it and made me the Black Pope of the Order of the Black Thorn. Still trying to figure that one out, but it happened and I just went with it. Okay. And even though I got bored of running the Order of the Black Thorn, myself, with almost zero help for almost 10 years, I basically walked away from it. I got bored with it and it's like, I'm done. I'm over it. So, um, anyways, about 2018, I started noticing that they were limiting the titles that other religions used. And at first I thought it was just, me. And then I started getting reports from other practitioners from other faiths. And I started realizing, okay, they're really cracking down hard on alternative faiths like pagans and Wiccans and Satanists, which these are protected religions according to the United States Constitution. So over the last couple of years, I let my ministry slide. I let it go stale, and I ended up getting involved with an organization which some people really hate. But you know what? Not my issue. I actually like the path, and I like being a necromancer. So, And so recently, I started conversing with the blighted, and I started conversing with my patrons and patronesses from the Demerge, and that I've worked with for just about 33 years. Okay. And I felt the need to reestablish my ministry. And I think that it is something that was needed to be done. And especially with the goals that I have as a practitioner, not just an adept. This is something that is a calling to me. This is something that has been a calling to me for almost an entire decade now. So I reached back out to the Universal Life Ministry and I said, hey, you know, I'm looking to become reordained. This time I want to do it for life. So guess what? No longer once a year thing. I'm an ordained minister legally for life, and I don't have to reapply anymore. And I don't more so I don't feel the need to reapply anymore. It's This is something that I wanted to do. So I ended up getting a new certificate, 3rd of August, 2021, which kind of makes you wonder what the hell were they thinking now that I'm reading this, you know, because it's saying August and it's actually March. You know what I'm saying? So, so here it is. I am a legally ordained minister once again, and this was from last year. This is something that I did last year, and it's taken this amount of time to get them to send it to me, which is okay. In no rush. So they finally just sent it to me, and so I'm now an ordained minister again, full time. And I've been getting a lot of hits from people asking me about services. I do perform services for people. I do ministry in the area of marriage, hand fasting. I do funerary rites, and I also do ritualized stuff such as curses, hexes, jinxes. I do monetary stuff. I don't do lust stuff. Things that revolve around love. So don't hit me up on that crap. I don't do it. In fact, I try to stay away from it as much as possible because it brings nothing but insanity. It's not that I don't know how to do it. It's just that it's not my area of expertise. Okay. Um, I do monetary stuff, anything to deal with work, putting people on their path, divination, marriage, spell castings, you name it, I do it. Okay. Now, like I said, I can do the love stuff. I can do those type of rituals. It's just not my forte. Okay. Now, if you want baneful sorcery, that's my expertise. Okay. So I wanted to update you on what a minister is. In the old days, a minister is somebody who is the head of a community, a spiritual leader. Okay. In some parts of the world, some titles, okay, some views are that a priest or priestess within it, the formation of a witch or a warlock lives between the living and the spiritual. Okay, basically meaning you live with one foot in the grave, the other in the world. Okay, you are a counselor. You are somebody who performs rites and rituals for people. You are somebody that is seen as a spiritual healer. Okay, you look at the shamans, a perfect example of being spiritual but also physical. Okay, being a warrior. Okay, look at the Hashishin or the Shem priesthood. Okay, look at if you want to get into JCI, let's go with the Knights of Templar. How about the Freemasons? These were legally ordained clergymen. Okay. If you go through the 17th and 18th centuries, who performed the Black Mass? Monks and friars. Okay. These are ordained clergymen that were part of the JCI. Okay. But this stuff goes all the way back for hundreds of thousands of years, long before the JCI was even formed. Okay. Now, like I said, in around the world, they're known as many different things. Healers in Native American traditions, you go in and say you're a warlock, probably going to find yourself getting scalped. So, if you go into certain religions and you say, "Hey, I'm a warlock," ooh, that's an oath breaker and betrayer, right? No, that's a bullshit lie. That's from the Welsh and Anglo-Saxon region. Once you expand your region, then you start getting to the truth of the etymology of the term. Okay. European based witches and warlocks were equals, not separate, but equals. Okay. It's only through today's world that we view them as being separate, with the warlock being another devil. Okay. And a lot of this is done through the church, the populace, and Hollywood produced films. Okay. You got to get away from that bullshit, people. All right. Do your own homework. So, as of last year, I am officially an ordained minister for life yet again. So, I want to thank the Universal Life Ministry, Chaplain B.R. Brown, or I should say, I'm guessing that's Brown, Bauer, I don't know. B.R. Martin, okay, is what I'll just call him because that's his name, Chaplain B.R. Martin, for signing it and making it official for me. Thank you again for that, sir. It means a lot. And I want to recognize the Universal Life Monastery as a place for all you serious practitioners that really want, here in the US, that want to become ordained. Okay. You don't have to live in somebody else's shadow. You can do your own ministry as long as you do the work and put in the time. Okay. I've definitely done that. I've gone through wars. I've dealt with things that most people are too afraid to get into. Okay? I'm not. I don't care what people think of me or what they say. Those who I've helped, those who I've inspired, those are the people that I look forward to helping. Okay? Those are the people that I want to surround myself with. They're the opinions that matter to me. Okay? My own brethren, you know where you stand with me. Okay? So, when you get into ministry, I want you to think about the different aspects of this. One of the best books that I can recommend to you for that would be, is it the Temple of Shamanic Witchcraft? If I remember correctly, it actually breaks down what a clergyman is, what a priest or a shaman is within a community. There is another one that deals with becoming an elders. There's about at least two more that I can think of. I'd have to go find them. I know one's up there on the bookshelf, and I think the other one's in the other room. Just can't think of the titles offhand. But this is something that each and every one of you has to discern for yourself where you want to be, how you want to be it, and most importantly, how dedicated are you to your practices? Okay. This is how dedicated and committed I am to the dark arts, to magic, to sorcery, to Satanism, to necromancy, to Santa Muerte, to Palomayambi, Brujeria, Santeria, and to Haitian Voodoo. Okay? These are the systems that I've studied and committed myself to over the last couple of years, okay, on a full time basis. So when I tell you that I'm willing to go all the way because this is a path for me, that should tell you that I've already made my choice of where I want to be and what I want to do with my life. Okay. Now, I've done this for almost 10 years. I've had to instruct my better half on how to do live videos. Okay. When she was doing the live videos for her school because she was going for her, well, let's just say medical degrees. And she's actually gone back to school as of tonight and gone into furthering that education. So within 6 months, she'll have a whole new degree. Okay, to go along with what she just graduated from Beale College with. So now she's going to a college called NTI. Not really sure what that NTI stands for, but yeah. But anyways, like I said, it comes down to each and every one of you. I would also recommend that you learn the United States Constitution, your legal rights. Okay, trust me, I have an entire PDF on things that I thought I knew, and it turned out there was a shitload that I didn't even know. I had just scraped the freaking top, the skin of religious freedoms. Okay, and the penal codes that go along with it. Okay, from a federal standpoint. So I've had to sit there and redefine legalism when it came to religious freedoms. So up until this point, I knew about the First Amendment. I knew about the Parliament Acts. I knew about the Religious Land Use and Personalized Religious Acts, and and a lot of other things that went along with it. But over the last couple of years, when I got my hands on this one PDF, it blew my mind. I mean, I probably knew maybe 3% of the overall. I mean, the people who gave me this PDF, they put a lot of time and energy into collecting everything to do with religious freedoms, from employment to personalized religious acts, from the 1967 Civil Rights Acts, titles VI and VII. It was like, God damn. I mean, I knew about the blue law, and I knew about the legal system titles that going all the way back to the 17th century. Okay, but this made me look like a fucking amateur. Okay, so I had to relearn everything from a legal perspective of being a minister and what that entails from a practitioner's viewpoint. Okay, so when I tell you that even I've had to learn and adapt, guess what? It's true. Okay, and I just noticed Justin popped in here a little bit ago. Northeast Technical Institute. Huh, good to know. So thanks for that, Justin. So yeah, so being a minister, there's a lot of responsibilities. And since I left Tractor Supply, you know, I ended up going to Dunkin' Donuts. And about 4 years later, I left. About my last year with Dunkin', I ended up going to this uh, little modern day pagan store about one city over. And it was interesting because I never gave my name. You know, the woman knew my description. She knew who I was and that I worked for Tractor Supply, and that only led back to one pagan. And all she said was that pagan's name, and I'm like, okay, how do you guys know her? So apparently, she spoke a lot of good things about me because of the fact that even they saw me as an elder. So it was like, wow, that's what I mean by when you live by a code, when you live by that that very embodiment of, how should I say this, and I guess the best way to say it is just a code of honor. You live by what you do, you set the example, you lead by example. Guess what? Word gets around about you and people respect you. Okay, so before I even went to this place, apparently my reputation had already been there. So it was like, wow, okay. So I'm on good terms with these people. I'm on good terms with a lot of people worldwide. And so now, and like I said, it's been a decade. But you know what? It's all good because it's not about popularity for me. It's about the arts and the practices. It is about doing what is needed for the spirits that I work with, living up to my oath, the creeds that I have put forth and aligned myself with. Okay. And it comes down to living a righteous life within my my own path. When I work with these spirits, be it the blighted or the demerge, even with the ancestral spirits, my oath, my word is my bond. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something that can never be broken. Because the day you break your oath is the day you need to shred these. Put up your wands, your athames, just get rid of them. Because your word won't be worth a damn. Okay? You want to be a pillar in your community, you want to set those examples and lead by example, then you need to step up to the plate and do what is needed. Okay? That's just my opinion on the matter. And I know what you're thinking. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, right? That's actually correct. But that's beside the point. I wanted you to know that this is what the spirits have geared me up to do again. I don't know what their plans are for me. I just know that this is something that I've always wanted to do. And the fact that I'm now studying thanatology, going to school for thanatology, guess what? Goes great with this. And if I get my PhD, I'll be a minister and a doctor. Yay. I always found there was a joke somewhere in there. I don't know why, but I always thought there was. So I want you to think about your career. I want you to think about what you got planned for you. All right? Because that's what it initially comes down to. What is it that you have planned for you? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 20 years? Where do you see yourself in 40 years? Okay? And if you could speak to your future self, what would you say? Where would you like to see yourself? Well, personally, for me, I want to get away from these fucking mundane jobs. You know, I want to go into ministry full time. That's where I want to be. But you got to make a living too. So guess what? You got to accept both worlds. So doing what is necessary, that's what I do. Okay. So I want to thank Justin for jumping on here with me. I appreciate the insight into what that stood for, the NTI. I do want to say that I appreciate each and every one of you that comes on and watches my content. Even if you just push like, or even just you know commune, communicate with me. I appreciate it. It means a lot. And for future, I'm stepping away from the dogma, the chaos, and I'm delving further and further into the knowledge, the gnosis, the apotheosis. And my goals and my aims is to become better at what I do. Okay. Not just for me and my family, but for me and the spirits that I work with. The path of necromancy, not just being a traditional Satanist, not just being a warlock, okay, a Bokor or Marimberos. That stuff is just a different, persona of witchcraft, sorcery. This is what I am. This is what I do. Love me, hate me. That's your choice. Okay. Just know, I appreciate you jumping on here with me. I appreciate you being loyal, dedicated followers, and liking my content. Okay. I always will back up what I say with sources. I will always back up what my research and everything that I'm practicing with numerous different etymologies, sources, regions of the world. And most importantly, I'll always make myself available to the public. There are things, most of you I reply to, but there's some of you that I'm not going to reply to because of what you're posting. It's beneath me. It's beneath you. You're the only one letting yourself down by posting like this PCD GJ MDYU guy or girl, whatever the hell you are. Okay, because I recognize the content that you just put up there. That's a link to an adult website. Okay, you let yourself down. You limit yourself to the mundane, and that's why I don't reply to you or those like you. People like Justin who get on here and communicate with me, want to learn, share knowledge. Those are the ones that I want to get to know. Those are the ones that I want to associate with. Okay? Those who are my enemies, I could care less who they are. They keep to themselves, I'll keep to me. You want to get in my way, I'll bury you alive, plain and simple. I got no issues with it. So, but just keep in mind, this is the next step from me. Okay? I'm going to put that in a picture frame and put it up on the wall. Okay? Maybe right behind me if I can find some. Well, I'll have to move some stuff around. I know my better half will probably kick my ass for doing it, but I may even enjoy it. Don't know yet. But anyways, you see the point there. And you welcome Justin. All right. So with that said, that's been this video about why I'm a clergyman. All right. Why I came back to being a minister. All right. So have a good day, a good night. If you're on Facebook, I hope you're associated with the Dark Sorcery channel and the Shadow Zone. In a couple of hours, roughly 9:15 Eastern Time, I will be on the Shadow Zone with Joan Gomez and for an interview, and that's tonight. And tomorrow at noontime, noon, that's 12 o'clock high noon Eastern Time. I will be on the Dark Sorcery channel with the founder, Alfredo Martinez. He'll probably upload that a little bit later on, but because we're doing that on Zoom, I don't even know how that works. I don't know if it's going to be live, or if he's just going to do it in a video format and then upload it. I really don't know. I won't know that until tomorrow. But anyways, keep that in mind. Keep a lookout for it because those are what's coming up tonight and tomorrow. So I hope to see you there, and I hope to see what you think of it. Okay. Tonight's interview with John Gomez on the Shadow Zone is going to be on Santa Morte, basically the dark side, Brujeria, and practices of baneful magic. Okay. The dark side of things. As for tomorrow, not really sure what's going to be mentioned or discussed. So, but either way, hope to see you there. All right. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.